Liam, Rose, and the Marvelous Tournament. This story unfolded during a hot summer in 1878 in the Old West, within the small town of Laredo. That year was marked by a severe drought, yet cowboys from around the world still converged on the town. Each year, a grand tournament was held there, open to practically anyone, with the grand prize being $1,000. Young and old gunslingers competed to see who had the most accurate aim and the fastest hands on this side of the Rio Grande. The competition involved shooting, and the targets were, of course, tin cans of beans, shot at precisely noon when the church bells began to strike 12. Those who missed their can, or hit another target, had to withdraw from the competition. Eventually, only 2 shooters remained, who would face off on the last Sunday in August. The competition was so popular that even Liam, an unassuming boy from a family of clockmakers, watched it every summer. Liam was a kind boy who had just turned 11. He always enjoyed watching the contest, but never participated himself, feeling he was not a true cowboy. Instead, he usually stayed at home fixing old clocks, something he excelled at. In fact, he was so good that he offered his clocks at the tournament to passing traders who then sold them hundreds of miles away, even in New York. However, that summer, Liam somewhat participated in the competition. But to this day, there are disputes about what really happened. It all started when a young gunslinger named Rose arrived in town. As soon as she stepped off the train, Liam fell in love with her. She was beautiful, and Liam thought she might be the same age as him. Her black hair flowed freely, so when the wind blew, Liam could see it waving in the air. As she walked down the street, she exuded confidence, and what the boys liked most were her eyes, round as 2 large jewels. When the competition began, Liam saw that the girl had come not just to stroll through the streets, but to demonstrate her prowess with pistols like few others in the area. From the first day, she started winning. She drew her gun the fastest, and from 10 and 20 paces, she always hit the cans first. She gave her opponents no chance. In the early rounds, she eliminated several young talents, and on the 5th day, even defeated the Mexican champion who had won the competition 2 years ago. He simply doffed his wide sombrero and bowed deeply to her. "I have never seen such fast and accurate hands, Signora." And so it went day by day. Liam watched the girl, and whenever she glanced at him, he would nervously turn away, pretending to be deep in thought. The girl continued winning, and people in the town started saying that this year she might even beat the favored shooter, who was called Danny Target. Liam didn't like Danny. He was a classmate from the local school, but unlike the other cowboys, he was known for his arrogant behavior. He came from a wealthy family, wore the finest clothes, and his rich family had bought him a famous revolver, the Smith & Wesson Model 29. Danny was an elite shooter and had also won over all his previous opponents. Unlike others, however, he taunted his competitors and never shook hands with anyone. And so it happened that on the last Sunday in August, just a day before the climax of the competition, the whole town was abuzz. People celebrated with fireworks, dancing, and some shots were fired into the air. Of course, Rose and Danny Target had made it to the finals. A tense duel was expected between 2 young and incredibly fast talents. Tomorrow at noon, it would be decided between them. They would shoot at the last 2 bean cans, and whoever's bullet was faster would win the contest and gain great fame. That evening, Liam was walking down a street where the crowd's noise was less audible, and suddenly he saw Rose sitting on the steps of the hotel where she was staying. Noticing her confused expression, the boy mustered some courage and approached her. "You're my favorite. I'd be really happy if you won the competition tomorrow." The girl turned around but did not return his smile. She pointed to her revolver and whispered quietly, "That might not work out. Someone broke into my room and damaged my gun." With those words, she pointed to the revolver, and Liam saw that the weapon was quite old and damaging it couldn't have been a bigger problem. "Do you know how hard I worked to earn that gun? I'm from a village and wanted to win this competition for my parents, so we could buy animals for the farm," the girl continued sadly. The boy looked at the gun again and then suggested to her, "You know, I may not be able to fix everything, but I'm a clockmaker and I'm pretty handy. If you want, I can take your gun and try to do something with it overnight." The girl hesitated, but since she knew that Liam sometimes watched her, she felt she could trust him. With some apprehension, she handed her gun to Liam. Feeling the girl's hands, his heart pounded. He really wanted to help her, so he tried to reassure her. "You must win tomorrow." Liam grabbed the gun and ran home. As fate would have it, he ran past Danny, and from the expression on his face, it was clear who was behind the break-in. Out of breath, he reached the clock shop. He placed the gun on the table and got to work. No one really knows what the boy did that night. Lights shone from the clock shop all night, and on the table in front of him was a pile of small parts that no one would recognize. However, the boy seemed to know exactly what he was doing and assembled one cog next to another as if he had a detailed manual. When the boy finished, there lay before him on the table some beautiful round watches and the girl's repaired revolver. Liam rushed to the square towards the church, jumped through a window, and climbed the old stairs up to the church clocks. He opened their cover and fervently turned the large wheels. It even seemed like he added 1 or 2 gears to the clocks. Then he turned around, worried if anyone had seen him, and ran back to the girl. She was still waiting for him on the steps and looked relieved when he returned the gun to her. "It's a bit heavier than usual," the girl hesitated, not sure if everything had gone well. But Liam smiled and responded, "Tomorrow you'll be as fast as ever, just focus and draw your Colt like you always do." The girl slowly nodded in understanding, then noticed the boy was holding a small clock with a silver chain in his hands. "Those are beautiful watches. Did you make them?" she asked. Liam blushed and nervously replied, "Yes, I made them in the shape of your eyes. I'll give them to you tomorrow, but I still need them for now." The next day at noon, the whole town crowded into the square, where the sheriff gave his speech before placing 2 bean cans on a wooden table. The distance was exactly 100 paces. To Liam, it seemed an incredible distance. The girl looked tense, while Danny appeared as if he owned the whole square. The town chanted the names of both contestants in anticipation of who would take the title of fastest shooter and the $1,000 prize in the next moments. As the clock neared noon, both contestants stood side by side and crouched in readiness. The entire square fell silent, so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Liam clenched his teeth as he watched the church clock and clutched the small, inconspicuous watch in his pocket. The last minute seemed like an eternity, but finally, the clocks ticked softly and their first chime sounded. Both contestants drew their revolvers and a shot rang out. At that very moment, young Liam pressed a button on his watch and time stopped in the town of Laredo. Everything stopped. People, animals, even the dust in the streets. It was as if hundreds of statues had been carved in a single moment. Even the church clock stopped ticking. Only Liam, holding the watch, moved through the crowd. The young clockmaker ran in the direction the 2 revolvers were aimed, and after 100 paces in the air, he saw 2 bullets. The girl's was slightly behind. Without hesitation, Liam grabbed Danny's bullet between 2 fingers and flipped it upward so it couldn't hit the target. Then he ran back quickly and, out of breath, pressed the watch a second time. Time resumed, and a cheer erupted through the town when the girl's shot hit the target. The same could not be said for Danny's attempt, which not only missed its target but disappeared somewhere in the air, out of sight. He stood there in disbelief, convinced he had aimed accurately. Rose breathed a huge sigh of relief. As soon as she realized she had won, she looked for Liam, and when their eyes met, the boy again averted his gaze. The young gunslinger was so beautiful that time would have stopped for her even without his little invention. and the town celebrated again. The young gunslinger, previously unknown, enjoyed great fame, and there was not a cowboy in town who did not doff his hat to the girl. The next day, Liam was back to fixing old clocks and was in a good mood. He was pleased that Rose had achieved her dream, so he whistled happily in the shop, enjoying the sunny day. Until someone touched the door handle, and Liam turned towards the door. There stood Rose, smiling sweetly. Without any prompting, she came up to Liam, kissed him on his cheek, and with a smile on her face said, "What if you pressed that watch one more time so we could have a moment to ourselves?"
I hope you enjoyed this story. Please, subscribe and join us every Friday for more fairy tales, right here on our channel.